His Excellency Philip Nyusi, President of the Republic of Mozambique, His Excellency Alan Berset, President of the Swiss Confederation, esteemed senior officials from the UNDP and African Union, panelists from Chatham House, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by thanking Dr. Alex Vance, Africa Program Director at Chatham House, for the kind invitation, and of course to UNDP for organizing this high-level side event on silencing the guns in Africa by 2030, lessons from Mozambique. This is an important issue at this point in time, and I'm happy to join you essentially virtually to share some of my experience and lessons learned on this subject. Learning from our history is critical if we are to make the significant gains necessary to meet the target we have set for ourselves by the end of the decade. Many of you watched Liberia navigate what I consider to be one of the most challenging times in its history. First, 25 years of violence, which included a 14-year civil war, had brought Liberia to its lowest point. Second, Liberia's GDP after the Civil War had declined by 90% and exports by 95%. Third, the country's external debt sat at more than $3.7 billion US dollars, equivalent to 800% of the GDP. To put this simply, there was very little we could do. There was no water, electricity. Our institutions had collapsed. Infrastructure had crumbled, including our schools and hospitals. Corruption was rife and the moral of the citizen was low. At the same time, some estimated that half of all Liberians were internally displaced or refugees in neighboring countries. Thanks to ECOWAS and the UN mission in Liberia, many combatants turned in their weapons through an interagency campaign of disarmament, demobilization, rehabilitation, and reintegration. The disarmament process, though not perfect, contributed significantly to the return of many Liberian refugees and internally displaced persons after 14 years of fleeing for safety. In addition, the process brought a sense of much needed stability to the country at a time it was most needed. In 2006, I was called upon to lead my dear country through reconciliation and recovery, 2 years after the Civil War. I would be dishonest if I told you that I was not surprised by the realization of how much corruption was entrenched in the Liberian society. In addition, the lack of human capacity following the civil law meant my job was cut out for me. There is an undeniable link between education and national development. The 70% illiteracy rate at the time indicated that Liberia was in dire shape. My primary objective was to keep the peace, to make government work again, and be more responsive in delivering quality services to the Liberian people. Liberians are resilient and trusted me with the responsibility of creating an enabling environment for their dreams and hopes to be realized. As such, during my tenure as president, I worked hard to provide opportunities for education, skill development, and capacity building, particularly for women and girls. And I was determined to provide all possible options to advance youth development and education out of the belief that this would deliver sustainable solutions to Liberia's challenges for generations to come. It took a lot of hard work, courage, political will, and determination to rebuild trust and consolidate peace. However, I understood that true peace could only be realized through the collective effort of all facets of our society to pursue democracy, dialogue, human rights, and stability. My administration's successes would never have been possible without the enormous support of the international community and development agencies. With their help, we trained our government officials and rebuilt institutions. We forged new partnerships and sought to attract major investment for our commodities. We achieved all this while working tirelessly to address our ballooning external debt, recognizing that this was a ticking time bomb for our fragile economy. More importantly, as promised in my inaugural address, we made the children smile again. The same can be said for Mozambique. The measures undertaken by the government of Mozambique, with support from the EU, UN, and agencies and other development agencies, helped ensure former fighters got a fresh start on life while creating new opportunities at the local level for economic development. Mozambique also has thus achieved the experience that can guide countries facing similar circumstances. If there were a constant measure I carried with me as I engaged with my counterparts, it was, Liberia is open for genuine business and ready to engage. We continue to pray that this continues. We applaud these important aspirations of the African Union as expressed in Silencing the Gun initiative. I remain convinced that peace is critical if Africa is to achieve its full potential and take its rightful place on the world stage. And we must all believe that peace across our continent is attainable by 2030, but that this will only happen if we are at work and collectively take all the actions toward the achievement of that goal. I can unequivocally say that this still holds for Liberia, West Africa, and the continent. Therefore, we must put in place the necessary measures for educating and capacitating our young population. In doing this, they can also contribute meaningfully to developing our economies, improving our societies, and maintaining peace and security. We also know that this goal can only be achieved with a conducive environment and continued support from the international community and the private sector. As I conclude, I would like to voice my strong support for the recent appointment of Dr. Mohammed Chambers as the AU High Representative for Silencing the Guns. I'm convinced that as he did with previous assignments, he will give this initiative new vigor and impetus to end all conflicts, gender-based violence, terrorism, and prevent genocide in the continent by 2030. Let me say that I remain committed to joining all of those supporting peace across our continent and will add my voice wherever necessary as we strive for a prosperous, more inclusive, and peaceful Africa. I thank you.